Hello YouTube, this is Charlie426, and today we have the review of the newly released RG Zeong. Now this kit released yesterday in Korea, and I purchased the regular version, and I'm starting to regret not getting the DX version because this kit was really fun to build. The build was not as complicated as I thought, but still compact and had a ton of articulations, ton of details, and the color separation is top notch. Now, originally, as I mentioned, when this was released, announced, and then the DX version was also announced, I was actually planning on getting the DX version with all the effect parts, but after some time thinking, I just personally thought, since I don't have any plans on getting the RG RX78, I thought the leftover parts would become pretty much wasteful, so I decided to go with this. But this kit was so fun, it has so much potential to do. Yeah, so getting the so I'm just saying that if you get the regular version, you can also have a ton of fun, but you can have even more fun if you buy the DX version, because that comes with extra effect parts, especially for the Zeong. So if you can, try to get the DX version. But for now, keep in mind this is the regular version as well. And number one, I am not going to make any comparisons with the Master Grade Zeong or the RG Zeong because I do not own those kits. Number two, I am every time like time to time I would get comments like asking me to compare a kit with a totally unrelated like kit, and I am not going to do that. The only comparison I'm going to do is do it with a typical sized HG kit to give you guys an idea how bulky this thing is. So keep that in mind. Alright, so let's get on to the review. So as I mentioned, as you guys should know, I'm not the biggest fan of RG kits, but this one I had really fun with. I didn't really get the feel that I was building a RG kit. I actually felt like I was just building a Master Grade kit, 1-to-100 scale Master Grade kit, but a slightly smaller one, and that's actually pretty good for me. Alright, so as usual, let's go over with the components. So first of all, what you get, of course, is obviously the RG Zeong itself. Definitely loving that new design, the extra details, and obviously there has been some changes because I'm gonna be honest, like the old HGUC Zeong, as much as I have respect for the mold suit, there are some parts that I don't like, but this one I actually like most of it. And here are some stuff that you are supposed to get and be using. So number one, we get a whole triple set action base right over here. So you get 3 of these panels as well. Of course, you only get like 1 of these neck sets, and then here we have extra stands for the psycho move weapons, so basically the arms of the Zeong. So basically, the Zeong can launch its arm to basically move all around like a funnel. Of course, they are wired connected, so he doesn't actually lose it time to time. So you get 2 of those. There's one here and there's another one over there. And here are some other stuff. So this is also from the action base plate. I'll get into that later. And then here we have some landing gear. So if you don't want to display them on the action base, you can always attach these 3 landing gear on the bottom of the Zeong, as if it's like inside of a hanger. I'll be doing a demonstration of that later. We get 2 black wires, and I think you should know that where these are used. These are basically to use the psycho move weapon effect parts to make the arms look like they're floating around. And finally, we get a red wire. Now you might be wondering where this goes on. This actually goes on into the big giant thrusters here. As you can see that red line over there. That is the cable that you use. So originally this should come in like almost like a 20 centimeter or 17 centimeter cable. You basically use about 17 centimeters of cable, and here's the leftover. So just wanted to mention that part out. And we get a sticker decal sheet. Of course, I did not use any of these because I don't really care for these much of details going on. So yeah, and I did try to use the mono eye sticker, but once again, after applying it just didn't feel right. So what I did was to use a metallic red Gundam marker. The good part about metallic red Gundam marker is that despite being called red, once you apply it, it actually has a more pinkish vibe, which actually worked extremely perfect for me. I'll show you guys later. And obviously, believe it or not, there are some leftover parts. So number one, here's the ones that I basically cut off. So number one here is from the action base plate. So these ones are actually from the leftover parts from making the extra stands for the arms. So then, since there was 2, you have 2 of these left, and we get a whole plate for the action base. So as I mentioned, this is the plate that holds the neck here. So here are a lot of stuff going on here. So I basically followed the instructions. So obviously you should be you should have this much left over, but it's really up to you on what to use these, because these action-based parts were not specifically for these. These are pretty much universal. So there's also some claws for action figures. So it's really up to you how to use these multiple joints. So while these are considered leftover pieces, but you can use these any way you want on this kit or on a different kit. And this, we have an extra thruster that goes onto the bottom of the Zeong. So technically you need 5, but being a double plate and each plate giving 3, obviously you can make 6, but you only use 5. So which is why we have leftover pieces. And it's always good to have a leftover, because these are one of those parts that you could accidentally break off, especially the peg here, so you can always have a replacement. Alright, so let's go over the review. Let me just get this off the stand because it's starting to make me dizzy. And see what we got. So as I mentioned, no comparison with the HG or Master Grade. I don't think it's really necessary, but here is a general idea how bulky this thing is. So here is a standard sized HG kit. Standard sized HG kit. I just want to mention that because I'm pretty sure since this is a pre-owned bonded kit, you guys might get the wrong idea. But here is a standard HG kit. So you can see height-wise, it's almost the same. But once again, the Zeong is missing its leg. Well, originally in the original series, it did not have legs because it wasn't finished. But a lot of people are actually hoping for a perfect Zeong with the legs and the sword. I personally don't care because I personally never liked that design. So once again, but the bulk here, so when you look at them side by side, you can see the bulk has a big difference here going on. So it's a pretty bulky kit. Alright, so let's see what we got. So let's start with the head. Now the head, really love the head. Of course, I believe if you bought the DX version, you should get, like, I'm not sure if you get a second head. I forgot. I did see the review a long time ago, but you should get a extra piece that you can put inside the mouth, so you can I'm not sure. Yeah, no, actually, yeah. So even the DX version, you should get the same head, but you get an effect part that shoots the beam from its mouth. But the way how that works is that I don't think it actually attaches to the head. They just give you you have to use an action base to give that illusion that it's firing a beam effect part. Yeah, sorry about the confusion. So the head, as I mentioned, I used the metallic red Gundam marker and it worked extremely well. So this is the head where it has multiple of those joints and gears. Yeah, gears. You have multiple gears to the point where it allows you to move the mono eye, so you can move it. If you move the head, the mono eye basically follows. So you have that effect, and it works extremely well. Now the eyes don't go up by itself. You have to basically detach the head, and then detach this this top part, and then you are able to move the eyes upwards. Now I personally don't care for this part, so yeah, just keep that in mind. So if you want to give that illusion, well, not exactly illusion, but yeah, if you want to move the mono eyes upwards, this is what you need to do. So maybe, I don't know, if you're a little bit picky on that section, you can just build this without the top part of the head, and then move the eyes a little more freely. But even though with that part off, that doesn't mean once you move the eyes, move the head upwards, the mono eye falls. So yeah, you have to move the eyes manually in order to get the eyes upwards. And I'm pretty sure at this point you should know that the red horns on the side parts are the most fragile parts of this kit, if you ask me. So yeah, and the head actually pops up really easily. It's not a ball joint, it's just a specific shaped peg here because of how the head gimmick works. And yeah, it works extremely well, and you can move these thrusters forward and backward a little bit, not 90 degrees up front, but yeah, basically enough. And I don't think this kit actually provides any joints or action bases for the head specifically, so keep that in mind. And yes, if you look at the back section here, we actually have the cockpit, or a chair that looks like inside. And there was no pilot figure as far as I can tell, so yeah. Alright, now let's look at the body. Now the body was definitely fun, because what I liked about this RG kit is that all the parts were big and bulky. Well, not everything, but you get the idea. So I didn't really have any trouble. It didn't, eat up my spirit. So the body, let's start with the obvious. There is a opening cockpit, but it doesn't have as much as details as you think. So you can see that there, but you don't actually see a chair or anything inside. So yeah. So the arms were definitely fun to build as well. But before we go to the arms, let's look at the main body, shoulder articulation. So the shoulder articulation, without the extension, you can move forward and backward, but you can also pull the arms a little bit out and then reveal the joints here, the shoulder joints, which gives you extra more movement going on here. Now, unlike the RG Zeong, the joints are very smooth. They're not too tight. They're not too loose. They're just on the perfect strength, so you shouldn't have any problems breaking them as well. So no oil needed, as far as I know. Now the shoulders, as I mentioned, other than the forward and backward movement, let me just remove the head just in case, because since the horns do get in the way, and I don't want to risk breaking them. So the shoulders can go that was close, 360. And the way how the shoulder armor works is that the shoulder part and the arm are separate pieces, so you have to move them together. And the shoulder's armor can move up and down as well. And I believe on the end tip here, you can move it, you can flap these up and down as well. And you can move the arms about almost 90 degrees. I think this is about 90 degrees, because the shoulder armor might get in the way, but depending on how you move it, you are able to go 90 degrees as well. I don't think you are able to go more than that at this point, because there is something blocking there. And then you do get a nice joint, a nice bend going on here. But for those who know the Zeong, this shouldn't be an issue, because you can pretty much detach the arm very easily. And there you go, you have the Psycho Move weapon going on here. Of course, there's a hole there for the wire, and obviously on the inside there is a hole for a wire as well. And let's just look at the hand right over here. It has a very nice movement going on here, up and down. You can move side to side. I believe you are able to bend this a little bit more, but once again, the hands were the only part that had the pre-built inner frame parts going on here. Technically, only the hand / fingers. So it was a pretty simple build. The only part I would say that's difficult would be to sand or get rid of the nub marks. So as you can see, each finger is a blaster. Just in case for those who were asking, if you have a standard HG style beam saber effect part, the round ones, you can actually plug them in. So if you have multiple yellow ones like this, you can pretty much apply these. So maybe if you have a bunch of these, maybe the DX version may not be too necessary for you, at least for the beam parts. Now the thruster effect parts, that's a whole different story. Alright, so and each finger has its own joint articulation. So yeah, it has actually a lot of articulation, despite each finger being a blaster. Yeah, I don't think I need to explain this at this point, but yeah. And then we have this part which extends to, so this is the part, each side has this part, so this is where you attach the extra stand connection here. So that's a pretty good design if you ask me. And let's see, without the arm, yeah, it's still the same joint actually. Sorry for the cut, I basically got a call on my phone, so I had to pick it up. Alright, so we left off on the arms. There are some more parts I forgot to mention about the arm and the head, but for now let's get the arms first. So other than the bend and the detaching point, we also have a nice rotating point right over here, 360, so you can pretty much reposition the arms as much as you want to do so. And regarding the head, you can reattach the head for now, and then we can go up and down, actually a lot. Up and down. There's another neck joint here, but as you just saw, there's another joint on the bottom right over here, so you can move even more down like that and go even more up if you want to do so. So that was very good. Alright, so let me just detach the head. Let's go to the waist section, or the main body. So other than the arms, let's look at the main body. The body actually has a lot of articulation. The only part it doesn't have is the rotating point here. I mean, it does have a rotating point, but not as much as you think. But that doesn't really matter for me. And then let's get the ab crunch. The ab crunch is amazing. You can do this. You can pretty much ab crunch a lot. That's actually a lot of ab crunch going on in here. That's pretty much do the floating pose. These are pretty much for the floating poses. And you can do it the other way around to give out that straightforward floating pose. And I absolutely love that aspect. And yeah, there's no side-to-side movement, and then there's nothing too special on the back, but we do have these extra thrusters on the chest where they look like they're closed, but when I move them up front, they do slightly open up. So, and I believe the same goes for the back section right over here. That's as far as they go, as far as I can tell. And I'm not sure if the DX version actually has effect parts for those ones, but yeah, they are a small, nice detail if you ask me. And now let's look at the thrusters, one of the main big parts of the kit. So when you're building the kit, they basically divide it into two parts, the front part and the back part. But later you connect them. Now when you connect them, they might not give a satisfying click noise, but they do connect properly. All right, and then here, before we go to the thrusters, what this now, if you think like this is a little bit too bland to you, the good part is that you can actually lift these up like this. There's these joints going on here that allows you to lift them up. So let me just try that. Give you a demonstration on one side. So you have 1, 2, 3, and then the back one, which is on a whole single piece. So you can move these parts. So there should be 7 pieces that you can move. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can lift these up to give out that more extra detail or like hatch opening look going on here. And it's a pretty nice detail, and they work very well. So we have the thrusters going on here. Here are those red wires I was talking about a time ago. And then, yeah, we do actually have a kind of a, how should I say, a side joint going on here, a hole for the side joint. So I do think a perfect Zeong might become a thing. I'm not sure if they will release it as a whole kit or a expanded kit, but either way, I think there is a chance to happen, but I don't think I'll be getting one because I'm not too crazy for that design. So other than that, we do have a standard articulation like a regular side. We can go forward and backward like that, and then we do have a side-to-side movement going on here, so that's pretty good. There is a way to reposition it, but once again, it's a very stiff piece, so I haven't figured out how to do it. But other than that, it does work. And then we have these 5 thrusters, which are all the same build here. So you can move forward and backward. Each of them can go move forward and backward. And then they each have like a T-shaped peg, but they're not in this position. They're not facing forward. They're actually staying straight like that. So which is why do not try to twist them. If you want to twist them, you have to move them up a little bit and then start twisting it like that. But I do not think you'll have any reason to twist that too much because yeah, it doesn't really matter. And as you can see, you have a lot of detail going on in the thrusters. You can see the inside armor parts, you can see all the engine parts, and really cool design. And these parts are basically the landing gear. Basically, if you want to attach these landing gears, you have to take these parts out and then reattach these parts and then attach the small parts again. So yeah, so if you think this look is a little bit too bland, you can always lift and open these up to give it that extra like mechanical look on that as well, and they collapse very well, so it's a really good bonus. All right, so we see the basics of the kit, so I'll be right back with the demonstration with the action base and kind of explain how the action base works. Not exactly the action base itself, but the way how you connect it. Okay, I'm back. So here's one of the demonstrations using the action base. I really love this pose. This was actually on the box as well. So there's 2 ways you can actually attach the action base onto the Zeong. So here's the first way. So if you look at the back skirt or the back of the kit, there's this gray part you can take off, which is right over here, which will basically reveal a hole, a big square hole, so you can attach the action base joint there, and you can basically make this float. And usually you want to attach the action base on the back in order to do the pose where he's like braking. So basically, as if he's trying to stop in midair. So that's the pose that you're trying to go for. That's what you do. And of course, on the box, they also did this pose was the action base connected right over there. And this time also, I basically detached not exactly detached, but basically opened up all the flaps just to give it a more interesting look. But yeah, once again, it's really up to your choice on how to display them. And once again, the wire works extremely well. Now, I would like to mention that these stands are not exactly the most strongest stand to just support the entire arm. The way how these stands work is that sure, the stands do have the basic strengths, but sometimes they will fail. Sometimes the hands can be a little bit too heavy for these stands. What you do have to do is basically connect the wires, and basically the wires are also supporting the hand so that the stand itself is not supporting the entire arm. So, and it works extremely well. I really, really love this pose going on here. All right, so we've gone through that, and yeah, I'll go and I'll be right back with the second way on how to attach the action base. Okay, I'm back. So this time I attached the action base onto the bottom of the action base right over here. There's another. So basically, they give you a extra joint here, so you attach it onto the part on the bottom right over here. Let me just reposition the camera, so you can see there's another joint right over here. So this is where you attach the adapter onto the kit, and then the action base connects to that adapter. So which is why this position is much more meant for the floating pose, that when he's facing forward and doing the floating pose. And even in the box they do, or on the manual, they do give you instruction manuals that you are able to do this pose. Now the tricky part is it's not it's easy to connect the kit to the action base now, but attaching these arms to the bases were not easy, because keep in mind, like, these bases aren't as strong as you think. So basically you also need to use those wires. So as you can see, it wasn't easy, but basically what I did was I positioned the wires to go upwards and backwards in order for the wires to actually support the weight of the arms to the stand. So which is why I was able to do this. But once again, it's not as easy as you think. So you need to really, the position of the wires are also pretty important. But once again, once you get it right, it looks really cool. Of course, I did not do a great job on the wires, but once you get that on a more natural look, it looks really, really good. Alright, so I think there's only one thing left to show, and that's the landing gear pose. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So before I go on with the explaining about the landing gear, here's what I meant about the stands being a little bit weak. So you can technically balance them out without the wires, but like, for example, in this case, one small boop and it will fall down. So you can see it's the joint here is not the strongest part, so which is why the wires are very important to be there in order to, you know, support on the, depending on which position you want to put the arm in, you're definitely going to need those wires to connect in order to support the weight. And now here is basically the landing gear. So it's not too special. Basically, there's these three parts. You basically detach them, and then you reattach the landing gear parts, and then reattach the parts that you just took off at the first step. So once you have that on, you have a very nice, stable, you know, standing Zeong there. So the only part, yeah, because without the landing gear, basically because of how the overall thrusters are, it's kind of wobbly without the landing gear. But with this, you have no problem at all. So maybe I think I should have had these landing gears at from the start, from when I started the video when it was rotating on the stand. But yeah, it's really nice to get the landing gear as well. And that's pretty much it for the review. And definitely, I think this kit was amazing. Now, to some people, this may not be too super, but for me, who doesn't like RGs in general, but this kit was really fun to build. And yeah, it's just so much fun. And I'm starting to regret not getting the DX version because of how the effect parts could have made this kit even more great. But anyway, thank you for watching the review. This was the review of the RG Zeong, and I definitely recommend this kit for those who are especially a more Zeong person, because I'm more of a Federation guy. But still, really great kit, really fun build. Color separation is top notch. There's nothing wrong you can go with other than maybe breaking those horns. So anyway, thanks for watching the review. If you guys got any questions or requests, you can comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.